How do you know when something is inherently great? Maybe you just feel it, like when you see a rainbow or hear your favorite song that brings back a flood of happy memories. For me, firing up WipEout on the PlayStation for the very first time is a perfect example of that feeling. But of course, being great doesn't automatically make something the best. So today, I'm diving into this retro gaming boss review to see if WipEout really is the best racing game on the original PlayStation. Released in 1995 by Psygnosis, WipEout was a revolutionary racing game that immediately captured the attention of gamers. Building on the superb foundation that was laid by F-Zero on the Super Nintendo, it took anti-gravity racing to new heights with its futuristic sci-fi twist. Unlike the more conventional racers of the time like Gran Turismo and Ridge Racer, WipEout combines sleek racing hovercrafts with tight, fast-paced racing and combat over some insane tracks. The game's stunning visuals, coupled with its brilliant techno soundtrack, made it a visual and auditory feast that set it apart from anything else on the market. Before we dive deeper into WipEout, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and helps keep the retro gaming content coming your way. Now, back to the game. At the time of its release, the racing genre was dominated by more traditional titles such as Super Mario Kart and Daytona USA. These games leaned on simple, arcade-style racing. And to be honest, I first played WipEout on the Sega Saturn, and while that was very good, the frame rate and visual fidelity didn't quite match up to the smoother animation and more visually impressive PlayStation version. I always thought the hovercrafts in WipEout really stood out and looked like some sort of combination of high-performance fighter jets and a drag racer. The way this game portrayed the anti-gravity mechanic was more than just a gimmick. It added a level of skill and precision that you had to master to manage the sharp turns, steep inclines, and jumps while managing your speed. The way that WipEout simulated the physics and feeling of the craft's weight and momentum, along with the sensation of bobbing up and down while being suspended above the tracks, is pretty remarkable, even to this day. In fact, when I was recently replaying it, I laughed to myself when I thought about how the gameplay feels like barreling down a water slide with your hair on fire while tripping out at a techno rave. Not that I would know. Anyway, the gameplay was an adrenaline rush, and the blend of racing action was taken to the next level with power-ups like missiles, shields, and mines, which added a whole new layer of strategy. There's nothing quite like the thrill of lining up the perfect missile shot or laying down a string of mines across a choke point on the track. The tension of sometimes narrowly winning or losing a race by the smallest margin made WipEout endlessly challenging and replayable. In comparison, while Gran Turismo was a masterclass in car simulation and Ridge Racer offered traditional arcade thrills, WipEout was a completely different experience, offering a high-tech rush that was unmatched by the competition. Now here's a fun story from back in 1996. I had the good fortune to attend the E3 Gaming Expo in Los Angeles, where one of the vendors was showing off their early VR-like headsets. They demoed WipEout using their funky contraption, and let me tell you, it was an experience unlike anything I'd ever had before. The image on screen was like having a massive 80-inch monitor floating in front of my eyes that provided panoramic visuals of the racing. The pounding techno soundtrack came through crystal clear on the stereo headphones, which literally sent the shiver down my spine. It all came together just right, and somehow made me almost believe for a brief moment that I was actually piloting one of those racers through the circuits in real life. That experience was so immersive and left a lasting impression on me that I truly wish every fan of this game could have tried out back in the day. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, I put a link in the description below of a playlist of all of my other content that you might also enjoy, so check it out and stick around for a while. WipEout's visual style was groundbreaking, with its cyberpunk-inspired design motif that just screamed future tech. Even the game's interface embraced a high-tech aesthetic, from the ultra-modern fonts that were used to the minimalist menu layout. It was clear that Psygnosis put an incredible effort into the game's art direction, and the overall graphic design was one of the reasons why WipEout felt so ahead of its time. An obvious technical achievement of this game was its impressive racing environments. WipEout used intricate 3D models for its complex tracks, creating courses filled with detail and depth. Back when this game was developed, the most cutting-edge software at the time, called Softimage, was used to visualize the roller coaster-like tracks. Despite the power of the PlayStation at the time, draw distances were still limited, so the developers were able to cleverly hide most of the background popping caused by longer stretches of the track by designing them to be constantly swerving and adding massive jumps and steep inclines and declines. Each track was so creative and unique that sometimes after a race, I would just sit there and watch the view of my ship speeding around the course, which I thought looked so damn cool. My personal favorite part of the game was its incredible techno soundtrack, featuring electronic music from iconic mid-90s groups like Cold Storage, The Chemical Brothers, and Orbital. This wasn't just background music, it was a core part of the WipEout experience. The driving beats matched the high-speed gameplay, helping to immerse players in the game world. WipEout's soundtrack became as popular as the game itself, with it later being one of the first games to release its soundtrack as a standalone audio CD. Remember those? The influence of the game's music is still felt today, since it helped to popularize the use of licensed songs in video games. The impact and legacy of WipEout on the PlayStation and the racing genre as a whole is undeniable. It wasn't just a game, it was a cultural touchstone for the 90s generation, combining the love of cutting-edge sci-fi, electronic music, and a period of rapidly advancing technology of all kinds. The success of the game naturally led to sequels like WipEout 2097 and WipEout 3, which refined the formula with improved visuals, tighter controls, and expanded soundtracks. The series continued its legacy through later PlayStation consoles, with WipEout HD and WipEout Omega Collection bringing the franchise into the high-definition era. Even the original PlayStation Portable got into the action, and I remember playing WipEout Pure in the Zone mode on my PSP while riding the subway into work, and was so enthralled by it that I sometimes missed my stop more than a couple times. Oh well, totally worth it. Just don't tell my boss why I was really late to work those days. As for the 2025 fan-made homebrew release that was recently put out for the Sega Dreamcast, that's just another testament to the lasting legacy of WipEout and the amazing community that keeps these classics alive. It feels amazing seeing the lasting popularity of this game today and recalling how it felt playing it back in 1995 for the first time. So going back to our central question of whether WipEout is truly the superior racing game on the PlayStation. In summary, what made it the best on the console was its innovative design, gameplay advancements, music, and a pretty flawless overall execution. These factors combined in a way that brought it up to a level that other racing titles just couldn't match. In contrast to the other excellent racing games on the platform, such as Gran Turismo and Ridge Racer, WipEout was unapologetically stylish and advanced in its presentation, with its ultra-modern vibe from start to finish. The overall presentation was so far ahead of its time that it had an irresistible appeal to players who were looking for something beyond normal racing games. Anyone who's played this classic knows that it's all about how WipEout so easily pulls you into the zone, immersing you into a new world where speed and adrenaline take center stage. But that's just what I think. Is WipEout really the best racing game on the PlayStation? Or do you think Gran Turismo or Ridge Racer are better? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear why. And before I go, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe for more retro gaming goodness. Alright my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out, reminding you to keep your games old school and keep flying forward. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.